The headline from Nick Eatman, DallasCowboys.com, need to figure out this backup QB situation. And Nick is joining us after the Cowboys 31-13 loss to the Baltimore Ravens at AT&T Stadium, and heard right here on 105.3 The Fan. Nick is brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort. Proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. How do they figure it out with what they have?
Well, maybe it's not what they have.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's what's out there. I mean, I'm seriously, it's
oh, you don't have to tell us you're serious. We know.
I mean, yeah, I think we all see it. I mean, like this is a great experiment, but I don't know if this is. I mean, I still think Milton's a guy that could be there as your third guy. This seems very, it reminds me a lot of last year, right? They traded for a guy, obviously traded for fourth round pick with Lance. This is a 7th round pick, but still they traded for him with hopes that he would be ready for this, and he wasn't. So Cooper Rush was your backup, and so I think that they need to find a backup quarterback. Something would happen to Dak, and Milton can still develop and do all his things, but I don't think he's ready to be the backup behind Dak here in this offense.
Nick, how much of what you've seen in these two games surprises you based upon what you saw from Milton in Oxnard?
Honestly, nothing surprises me because I think I was pretty clear about what I was seeing out there as well. Like, yes, there are some really nice plays and there's some that aren't. And so we could see this coming. And this is standing there with the red jersey on, knowing you're not going to get hit. And still the ball was going all over the place. And so when the bullets start flying and you get out there in the game, everybody that I would talk to was kind of like, let's see what happens. And I don't know if they're letting him really run and be. It seems like he's been told not to. I can't confirm that, but it's kind of what it feels like. Like, hey, we know what you can do.
Right.
Let's stand in there and make the throws.
Right.
But that to him is not necessarily the way he plays quarterback, and so he does need to take off. He does need to run some, and that hasn't happened. And so I wonder if that's kind of messing with his head a little bit. But some of the basic throws. It's just not there, the mechanics wise, it's just not there. He needs to play. He needs more development, but I know I'm not alone in thinking that they've got to figure something out here.
Nick, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical. Before I ask you the hypothetical, let me clarify really quickly. I can ask you about a player not under contract with a team as part of my hypothetical, right? Like that doesn't get you in trouble the way somebody who's with another team?
Somebody not with the team?
Yeah, somebody's a free agent. Yeah, just somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, then cool. All right, we're going to throw out these names then. Your backup quarterback options are Joe Milton, Will Grier, or like the two guys who are at the top of the free agent market right now are Carson Wentz and C.J. Beathard. Who are you going with as your backup to start the season? Are you just saying, let's go with Grier, let's roll with Milton, or do you just say, all right, grab me one of these guys off the free agent pile like a Beathard or a Wentz?
Yeah, I'd grab one of those guys. I can keep all of those guys still on my team. I can keep Milton as my third quarterback, even though I know they probably want to go short in some position, and maybe they do. But, he could probably stay as your third. Grier could probably be on your practice squad as far as the development goes. But, no, I think I'd rather have another guy in there like that. And he may not be ready. Whoever it is still got to learn your offense a little bit. But I would feel comfortable. I'd feel more comfortable about that, about a guy coming in ready to play. And just anybody that's shown that he's a good teammate, he understands the backup role, the backup position, and will be supportive of Dak and everybody around him. And that's what I would probably have to do at this point.
Nick Eatman, DallasCowboys.com, joining us on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Why isn't Dak going to get a preseason rep if that is the case in Game 3 as well?
Because to me, the risk reward is just absolutely off the charts of different as far as the guy getting hurt and losing him in a preseason game versus a little bit of reps here and there that he, and I still don't think he's going to be, he's not going to go out there and get 2 series and go like, oh, I'm ready now. I don't think that, and I've gone back and looked at this. Their season openers, their first month of the season have not been that bad to the point of like where you can risk this. It'd be one thing if every game was like the first couple of games of the season, they're terrible. And you're like, well, of course they're terrible. They're not getting any reps. But they've come out and been okay. Last year wasn't the best, but, the previous years have been pretty good and to start the year to suggest that he hasn't had a preseason snap since 2019. So I think that I don't think that's the issue so much as it, you would feel absolutely sick if something happened in a preseason game, and I think that they just don't want to risk it. They've seen it. They've seen Romo get hurt. Was that a good thing, bad thing? That's we can debate that all day long, but your starting quarterback got hurt in a preseason game.
Nick, tell me, and Bobby, you weigh in too, if you guys agree or disagree with this. I have to start Will Grier Friday, and I have to have Will Grier play 2 or 3 quarters.
I'll weigh in on that. That depends on. I'll throw it back to you. What is your end game there? What's the agenda for you? Is it because you want to see Will Grier to be the backup to Dak?
Yes.
Well,
I know. The reason I say I know it's not going to be Joe in my mind right now. I know it's not going to be Joe. I got to see if Will can make me feel a little bit better before I go out and get one of the acquisitions that you guys were talking about. I know it can't be Joe at 2.
I'd be fine with that. That's fair. That's fair to Will Grier, who's been here the whole time. Give him an opportunity to be the number 2 guy too. But I had no problem with that if that's the route that they go.
If you're trying to get an answer, sure. I think Schottenheimer feels like he knows Will. Like I think he knows Will Grier and he knows what. And so,
do any of us know? I don't feel like I know that Will Grier can be Cooper Rush.
No, but I think that they've got a handle on who he is. Like I don't think they have any questions about that. I think they know. Like they've seen him in this building for years. They've seen him work with Schottenheimer concepts. So like I think they feel confident in who it is. If they ever had to be in a situation where it's like Milton is hurt at the end of the preseason and they got to roll into the season, sure, I think they would roll in there with Will Grier as a backup in some situations. But I do think that when you're looking at...
Wait a second. If Joe Milton's hurt, hang on. Let's just say that I'm bringing another quarterback. Yeah. Give me your prediction against the Eagles who the number 2 is. It's not going to be Joe Milton. You just talked like Joe Milton is still the 2. I'm telling you, my guess, hot take, I don't think it's a hot take. He's not going to be the 2.
Yeah, I think they absolutely over the summer intended Will Grier to be their number 2 initially in terms of just if they needed to get me by game. I think as the things wore on and they were trying to get Joe reps, they anticipated, all right, Joe's going to get these reps, he's going to get prepared, and then he'll be the number 2. And I think it has not gone the way they thought. And so now I don't know how they view. At this point, they're kind of stuck. And I think they're still wrestling with that. My guess would be they would probably just stubbornly say he's number 2.
Who?
Milton.
Nick?
Well, Grier. Grier is the number 2 with maybe a guy out on the practice squad that they elevate, a veteran. I can't see it. I can't see Milton being the 2. I mean, I could see Grier being the 2, Milton the 3, but either way. I mean, this is a thing that you hope doesn't even matter,
right?
But unfortunately, it has had to matter the last few years. And
yes.
The ironic part of it all was the guy that's on the other side over there. And I mean, it's not like Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush was Cooper Rush. I mean, he was exactly what he threw some picks.
Yeah.
And he made some plays. And so, I mean, you missed that. I think there's a lot of people go, man, I wish that was the backup quarterback.
I was fine with Cooper Rush, man, when he was here.
Look, he got done when he needed to. Nick,
he left.
Nick Eatman joining us from DallasCowboys.com. Nick, who else stood out for you in this game on Saturday? Obviously, Booker got a lot of attention being out there. How did you think he played, and who else stood out?
I thought he played really well, and with your first round pick, you get the binoculars on, you're gonna watch him, and I thought he was really good. He locked in. Now I get it; he's not playing against probably a lot of starters and all that, but you can only block who you block, and I thought he did a really good job. So. He's going to be solid. I mean, not even solid. He in a couple of years, when you think about Tyler Smith and Tyler Booker as your guards, I mean that's going to be really, really good. And it may not even be a couple of years. It may be this year, which is good for this team. Now, who stood out? That's it. That's all you think of. No, I thought it was interesting. The Booth was an interesting situation there because I'm not gonna lie, I had him in the 90 to 91 range as far as the roster. Like just ranking the guys on the roster. I didn't think he was a guy that was going to be here for very long, and he may not be. But you know what? When you make a play like that, and then after that, a little bit of confidence you started to see. It seems like that kind of helped him. Now, I don't know. Teams are still going to throw at him, and he would scare you if he's the guy that has to play a lot. But you kind of wonder if making a play like that kind of buys you some time a little bit. And I will say this: I think the Cowboys and Eberflus has always been really good with linebackers. I think the linebackers are really good. They're playing well. I think they've got a lot of depth now, and they seem to play well in this scheme. Damone Clark's playing better than we've seen him play before. Maris Leofau's playing really well, and Sanborn did a nice job. And Murray, I think he's going to be really good too. And if Overshown gets back, I just think that's a really deep position now at linebacker. Maybe even too deep when you think about what you might have to do and maybe trade for different positions. Maybe linebackers one where you could move somebody.
Given the first two games that we've seen here and the practices, everything over the offseason, who heading into the game coming up on Friday are you saying, all right, this is the week you're playing for your spot on this roster or your job is on the line here? Who are some of the guys that stand out like that?
Like maybe a Keemon Hall. There, I'm trying to think of the defensive back. Zion Childress, which I think is an inside, like on the inside of the bubble right now. But you can play your way off of it. It happens too. I will never say that this game is meaningless because I've seen it go one way or the other. I saw Hunter Lipke do it. Hunter was on the outside of the bubble, I thought, in that last game, and played a really, really nice game, and they kept him. And now, I don't think there's even a – it sounds like he's got a pretty decent spot on the team, entering year 3. So my point is that, I know you're asking for guys. I just think that there's probably 20, maybe 12 to 15 is probably a better number of guys that can play their way onto the practice squad or on the practice squad can play their way on the roster or vice versa. A lot of those offensive linemen, let's see what maybe a guy like a Johnny Cornelius. Here's a draft pick that needs to kind of do something. So there's a lot of guys like that. Phil Maffa, what do we do with Phil Maffa? That's a big question too, and I'd like to see him run the ball a little bit more. Any
injury update on Mingo?
I personally, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I've asked. I just haven't gotten a great answer there on that. If there, I know that there's some concern there, but I have not. I hate to say I have not got a solid answer for you.
Rank the 4 of us on this show in terms of comedy, please.
The 4?
Yeah, me, Peyton, Bobby, and Choppy, who's out this week on vacation.
Yeah. Oh, that's easy. That would be easy to put him in there. Then, to put him, like 4 because he's not going to hear it, right? No. I will say, Peyton, I love you, but as far as comedy, I wouldn't. I'd put him at 4. Sorry.
Spagnola's better.
When what do you say?
Mickey's better.
Yeah, that's fine. You're hilarious now.
Number one, let's go.
That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. All I hear, Peyton, is you got 45 seconds to you're out. Like that's it. I hear a lot of jokes and stuff. I've heard a little bit on when I'm driving and all that, but it sounds like it's the whole girlfriend bit and all that situation, moving in and all that. That seems fun, but I'm still. I'll put. I don't like this game. This isn't a fun game.
Who's won? Nick, come on.
Bobby's pretty funny for me. I'm sorry. Bobby's my guy.
You think Bobby's funnier than Choppy? That's really what this boils down to from a weekend argument.
To me, yeah, because I think our sense of humor is very, very similar.
I think it's because you're out there showing all the media the things you can't say on air.
My great memes. My memes are fantastic.
There you do it, the memes. Okay,
that's true. That's true.
So someone finally votes in the local media, Bobby over Choppy. Great stuff, brother. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Thank you.
Thanks. See See you guys.
It is our Dallas Cowboys insider, Mickey Spagnola. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Well, we're doing well. I trust that by watching the preseason game, you have figured out the entire roster and the entire season. Do you want to give us all 53 names now? Do you want to portion them out? How does that work?
I probably can give you 40.
Okay.
Whoa.
Can I ask you a general roster philosophy question?
All right.
All right. So I'm just going with Mickey Spagnola. Which player do you like better before we get to why that he won't get on the roster? If you got to choose, would you rather take James Houston or Will Grier? I know they're going to keep Will Grier, but like if it was up to you, would you rather James Houston made the roster?
Will Grier. You guys like James Houston?
Yeah, do you not?
Oh, maybe I missed something, but
I just saw a couple plays where he flashed. On Saturday.
Oh, man.
yeah.
Okay, Mickey's against my first. Okay.
But you know what? I've asked about James Houston a couple of different areas, and there hasn't been a lot from.
Well, you know
about
what?
him,
You guys asked me last week
Yeah,
about it,
I
right?
did,
Yeah.
So-
I thought he looked
And
good.
I said, well, let me look at this guy.
Yeah.
And
He
I was
didn't do
trying
it
to-
for you?
He had 43 snaps. He had 2 tackles.
Yeah, those were the two that I said he flashed.
So you
on.
saw him. You saw each
I saw
one
both
of them.
of them.
Yeah. I was like, how come they asked me about this guy?
Oh, man.
Sorry, maybe I wasn't watching
I'll tell
well
you,
enough.
I'll tell you why I asked about him, because when obviously they were looking for some people to play that position, like that was why he got signed for camp. And then on top of that, I just had not heard his progression. And so I watched him while we were out there, but we were out there for 3 days. And so I was trying to figure out if anything else had progressed since then. And based on what I've heard, not much. So,
Well, I mean, if you're going to compare him to the 2 guys you just mentioned, right, or to the guy you mentioned, well, he might have to be the backup quarterback.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. I don't dispute that.
And
at all.
I know that was going to take the discussion in a different direction.
For
but,
sure.
Yeah, that's, to me, if you're looking for things that are unsettled that scare you, between cornerback and backup quarterback, would get my attention.
is Will Grier is probably going to have to be the backup quarterback because Joe Milton can't play in this league, or
Oh, no.
Joe Milton's not ready to play in this league.
Yeah. You know what? Today on our podcast, I compared the situation to Tony Romo. Because when Romo came in 2003, he wasn't ready to play in the National Football League. And he didn't have to.
Right.
And he wasn't being judged that way, right? And so 2003, 2004, 2005, and then in 2006 he got in there, right? Halfway through the season. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to, he came in as an undrafted free agent. Joe Milton comes in as a 6th-round draft choice.
Yeah.
So somebody didn't think a whole heck of a lot of him, right? But they saw some potential. Well, I think the potential and the athletic ability is there, but I don't know that he's played enough football.
I'm right there with you.
And there's just some simple things that you have to be able to do to be the backup quarterback. And I think I said this last week, that when you're the backup quarterback and once the season starts, you hardly get to do anything in practice.
True, yeah.
So you got to lean on your experience, and he just doesn't have that. And to go back to Romo, if Quincy Carter doesn't get cut in 2004 in training camp,
He ain't a Cowboy.
he was the 4th guy. He's
Right.
out, right?
Yeah.
We'll never know, maybe he did it with somebody else, but he wasn't going to do it with the Cowboys. Now, I guess they could have put him on the practice squad, but remember back then the practice squad was pretty limited. It wasn't 16 players, right? It was half a dozen, 8 maybe, something like that. So as a 3rd quarterback, I would keep him and keep working with him. But as the guy that might have to go in the second half of the first game, I don't know.
Yeah. One of the I was watching the Wall 2.0 Deep Blue. It was really good.
I saw it last night.
Those three guys, I watched it last night. Those three guys I love those guys. But there was a line that they said about when Dak and Zeke got there and how they didn't know how serious all the games were. And when I was watching Joe Milton on the sideline after a couple of errant throws, it looked like he's already in his head. And like it's like everything's on this. And I don't know if you can play that way. Like I really don't know if you can play whenever you're just that wound up about, oh man, if I fail, it's all over. And I'm hoping he can get past that at some point.
Yeah, I think I think we have to wait because teams are going to cut guys, right? There's going to be some quarterbacks that have actually played in the league that are going to get cut, and maybe some that maybe played more college football. Now, I know he, was in college playing, 3 years in Michigan, 3 years at Tennessee, but he didn't play a heck of a lot of games. I think it averaged out to just around 7 games a year.
Okay.
And the most he played was 12, I think, his last game at Tennessee. And he couldn't beat Missouri, by the way.
In your face, Choppy.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I always appreciate college.
Or maybe it was the year before that. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, I just think they got to keep their eyes wide open to see what else is available. And if not, and it's not like Will Grier has a ton of experience, right? He's played three NFL games,
right?
And they were back in 2019. So they're kind of backed themselves into a little bit of a corner here.
And it feels particularly unfortunate with the numbers game that the Cowboys are going to pretty much have to, I would assume, carry 3 quarterbacks at a time. That you said positions like cornerback are still unsettled. It feels like, I don't know if it's going to hit on the defensive line, offensive line, cornerback, but you're going to lose somebody off your 53-man roster because you need to carry that third quarterback.
Well, they did last year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they spent that season with Trey Lance hoping, and it never materialized, right?
Yeah.
They didn't. Well, they might have kept him if it had, somebody gave him some money.
Right.
Chargers, right?
Right.
And he's done okay in the preseason. I don't know that he's been great. But as the third quarterback making what Joe Milton's making, I could keep him on the roster, but I just don't know about putting him in a game to try to save the day.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be like going to the Rangers bullpen.
Oh my. Mickey, we just try to have a positive discussion about...
And then I dumped on 2 things, right?
Yeah, I saw what happened on Friday night as well, and the previous week. And so one of the things that was frustrating about this game to me, like I don't, it doesn't matter that the Cowboys lost the game. Like I don't care about that. But it's that they struggled to stay on the field offensively, and so you got to see like less of, maybe, I don't know if you think it's Joe Milton, but like we got to see less of the offense than I would have hoped. They had like about 20 minutes of possession, and you saw a whole bunch of their drives wipe out pretty quickly. That felt disappointing just in terms of evaluating some of your guys in a game setting.
Yeah, especially since it's a preseason game. Did you look at the number of snaps?
No, I missed it.
47.
Ouch.
That's not enough.
Yikes.
At halftime.
They get more of those in practice.
At halftime, if I remember correctly, I got it here if you just let me turn the page real quickly.
We'll wait.
I was thinking that Baltimore had 50 snaps. They did. 50 snaps at halftime. Yeah, so if you projected that out, that's 100 in the game when 60 and 70 is about normal, right?
Yeah.
They had 50.
Wow.
And a lot of that was because the Cowboys at halftime had, that can't be right, 18 snaps.
I was going to say, I think it was 17, but
yeah,
18 snaps.
I think that is right, actually.
Yeah.
And the total yards was 273 to 31.
Not enough. And your run game wasn't doing much. Like, I didn't get a good feel on Miles Sanders.
Yeah, but you didn't have enough snaps to be able to judge it. So, actually, that's a really good point. I'm going to go put that in my column, that because they had so few snaps, you didn't have a good chance to give everybody a good evaluation.
I think you also that line has to be, as I was saying on the K&C Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan, my daily hit.
You could leave that off because then you'd also have to put in your column, they won't stop asking me about change. Yeah, and so I feel like we're 1-1 now.
We're doing well, though.
Yeah.
We're doing well.
So the next one will really determine how we feel about this hit today. I don't think the results have come back yet, and if I'm wrong about that, please let me know. But it sounds like there are concerns about Jonathan Mingo missing time. What have you heard on that? And
I was told last night that they feared he had a PCL sprain, and so I don't know. They were going to have to check and see what level the sprain was. I'm sure they're doing an MRI today. Maybe Schottenheimer at 1 o'clock today.
Yeah.
We'll have some results on that. But, yeah, you sat there and you go, well, I don't know, that wide receiver position is kind of congested. And that happens. You go, well, who knows? Maybe it's not that congested, So, that was unfortunate because that was kind of the play before he got hurt was the play of the game, right?
Yes.
And then the next play, the pass in the end zone, that's when he sprained his knee. I think it is of some concern at this point.
Does that clear the way for maybe short-term Flanoy?
Well, I think he had a chance at, if they kept 6, that I think he would have been the next guy up at 6. Because there was those 3 guys at the back end, right? Flanoy,
Holden, maybe.
Trayshawn Holden, and Jalen Brooks, who was on the team for, the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And, I thought Flanoy, he didn't get many opportunities Saturday night, but he did have a couple catches, and he has kind of, showed out in practices in Oxnard. So, and they judge all that stuff. So, I thought that was going to be a tough decision, if they kept 5 or did somebody push it to 6. And then you sit there and go, well, I don't know if they can get those 3 guys on the practice squad. But I'm thinking every team is kind of thinking that. We got this guy. He's really good. I don't know if we get him the practice squad. So I think there's a lot of teams in that situation.
Now, real quick, the last thing I was curious about, tomorrow the Cowboys documentary hits Netflix. You've been around for the entirety of the Jones era, though. So does this interest you at all? Or are you like, I feel like I know most of these stories and all of this stuff?
I think in 2 things. One, maybe it reminds me of some things. And then 2, just to know that, is this how I remember it? How accurate is it, right? To my memory. And, hey, we're talking 30 years ago, right? That's a long time. That could be a half a lifetime if you think about it.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to watch and see. I guess over the weekend or whenever it was, we learned about Jerry and the cancer thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that ever came out, even behind the scenes. I know it didn't come out, obviously, publicly, but I think we knew he did have some, we saw the remnants of some of the melanoma things that he had, but other than that, we didn't really know that. So there might be some other things. And then again, when you're interviewing guys for things like that, sometimes revisionist history, is a little bit different than what really took place. So I'll be interested to see how those interviews went with all those guys back in the day.
Well,
it should be. And I think, it's 30 years ago, so there'll be some people that, didn't live through that.
Yeah, true.
So it'll be very instructional.
Yeah, I like that. How to win a Super Bowl. Thank you very much, good sir. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow.
All right. I'll talk to you. See ya.
Bruce Harmon hurt, Christian Matthew hurt, veteran cornerback Michael Ojemudia is on board. He's been parts of a couple of NFL teams. I think he was a 3rd-round pick of the Broncos maybe 4 years ago. and he's been playing with the UFL's DC Defenders, and signed with the Cowboys. So he's back in the NFL, at least for now. They've got some hits out of these secondary leagues. If this could be the Kevontae Turpin of kick returners or the Perry and Winfrey of defensive tackles here as a corner, Michael Ojemudia, that'd be great. But I think hopes are low. It's disappointing. I think Xavier Howard got picked up by somebody today, 1 year and $5 million. There's still 2 or 3 good corners out there, but I don't even know if I want the Cowboys to do anything more than what they're doing, because I feel like right now they're just biding their time and saving cap space for the future. And if you're not going to go get a veteran corner and trade for Brian Robinson, the running back, and maybe trade for a left tackle, and maybe add a veteran linebacker who can help you stop the run, I just think it's too far away to really ask for more than Ojemudia. We're prospecting with busts who might, have a late bloom into something. I think that's what the Cowboys are doing. Brian, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're trying to just get through this game, to be honest with you, Gavin. They're in a situation where there's some guys. Shotty talked about if practice on Tuesday and Wednesday wasn't up to snuff, that maybe some guys would have to play some more. But this is one of those games. Fortunately, the league has done something for you now where they don't make the final roster reduction until after this game.
Yeah.
You used to have to make a cut to 75 and then try and play this game. So at least they gave them that. But it's I kind of felt like, and Eric and I talked about this in the pregame show the other night, that would this game against the Ravens make you feel like you needed to go get somebody? And then Brian Schottenheimer with our own Brad Sham is talking about help on the way. And so help on the way is I believe he's trying to tell us he's going to get some of these corners back. Now it's a mess over there, but you do have some guys that are competing. Is it, unfortunately you draw Philadelphia in the first game, and it's going to be bad. That part of it's going to be bad. And, and then the Giants, you don't know, we'll see with neighbors and stuff, but they've got to try and find a way to weather this storm if they can. And it's really going to be, as we know about their offense, but I was hopeful that they would go and try and get a veteran corner. And I'm not talking about, Gilmore or somebody like that. I'm talking about somebody, because they'll tell you that they don't feel like the Gilmore can run anymore.
I believe that.
They just don't want to put somebody out there like, okay, yeah, we know the guy, we'll sign him. Yeah, but
looked old 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just want to make sure. So we might see some stuff to do with some claims. We might see some stuff to do with trade. But I'd say this current signing is just more about trying to get through Friday night and then see where they can go with the week that they have off to get ready for the Eagles.
The old camp body. Okay.
Yeah.
And hey, if you're gonna feel like, hey, we're getting Diggs back, and you can put Diggs and Bland on the field together with this pass rush, at least you could play good pass defense. At least you could say, hey, if we can stay ahead of the opponent making them pass, I think that could be a path to victory and allow you to overperform despite your weaknesses. But yeah, I looked at the schedule again over the weekend, just like, what's the worst and best I think this team could do? Massive spread. It's possible Dak plus Lamb and Pickens will just make you forget about this dumpster fire of a preseason within a single quarter against Philadelphia, and you're like, hey, we're going to be able to score. Maybe this is like Bengals with Burrow, Higgins, and Chase, and we won't be able to do that much but we can play some good football. And then if you add to that a great pass rush and turnovers, I guess I could see 10 wins, but I could also see 5. I have such a massive spread of not knowing what. The only thing I'm sure I can't see is 2 or 3 wins or a deep run into the playoffs.
How they play run defense, and I mean play run defense in the way of you're going to get sick of hearing us talk about this. But when they're bad on run defense, it is going to be about fits. Mm-hmm. It's going to be you could see how when fits work, the very first series of the game, when you get Sam Williams plays as a crash end and he gets inside, so now he beats the tackles block, forces the ball wider. Now here comes Clark down, and here comes Sanborn behind him. And then, Mozzie on that front side, believe it or not, is kind of holding his own over there, And now everybody's in a gap in the back. Ali had nowhere to run. that is how they're going to have to play run defense. It's going to be about these guys, and when they're really, really, really bad at it, it is going to be not somebody getting blown off the ball. It's going to be about a fit mistake. It's going to be about a linebacker. And the reason I think the linebackers played better in this game is you actually had some guys like JT and Mozzie, believe it or not, and guys like that holding up some blocks. And it allowed guys like Clark and James, who can really, really run. It allowed them to get to the ball. And so that's what it's going to come down to for this defense. It is going to be the margins are going to be razor thin, because if you have one guy play with just be a hero and try and duck under a block or turn on a block
or jump a gap.
He said it in the press conference today. That is going to be what gets them killed on defense, because they're capable of playing gap control football. They're capable of playing that. That they have to make sure that they play it as sound as possible, because if they don't, that's when they're going to give up big plays.
Well, the Cowboys are going to host a watch party at the Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium for the opener against the Eagles. Maybe that's a way to generate some extra revenue, but the event's going to be free. The doors will open at 6 o'clock. I guess that's 2 weeks from Thursday night. There's going to be food trucks and other amenities with appearances from Cowboys alumni. So I always love that vibe when the team's out of town and you have a watch party at the arena or the stadium. Cowboys going to do that for week 1. It was Mike Garafolo reporting that Brian Robinson Jr. will not play tonight against the Bengals. It's a mutual decision between he and the Commanders, as a trade before the cut to the 53-man roster remains a possibility. I think Brian Robinson's like a top 10 running back, isn't he?
Brian Robinson at one time was kind of going in the trajectory that way, but then they started bringing backs in, and then his playing time got less and less and less.
There was some slippage last year for sure.
I think Brian is much better. I think Brian can catch the ball really well.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Brian, though, is does he still have that ability to make some people miss? And
not a lot of juice. He's very in between the tackles runner, kind of what you got right
very
now.
Very much like the kind of the guys you got, but like I say, a guy that has the ability to catch the football and make some things happen in the open field that way.
I mean, what happened to him? He's 26 years old. Got shot in the knee, right?
He slowed down.
Yeah.
He looks like he just doesn't have, and he also had some situations where he had some turnovers too. The ball security was a real problem for him, and they kind of soured on him that way.
All righty. I want them to keep Joe Milton, because I think if Dak gets hurt, the best thing that could happen is you end the season with a top 10 or maybe top 5 pick. That's my takeaway from the weekend. Joe Milton is team tank, and maybe there's a 1 or 2% chance that he develops into a solid NFL starter. But I mean, that was just an embarrassment. I think if it wasn't for the fact they traded for him and we haven't even got to a regular season game, he shouldn't make the team. I mean, it is just horrible. So I would let him go. I think it's more embarrassing to hang on to him and broadcast to the entire world we're so married to our trades and can't admit when we made a mistake. That's the only reason you keep Joe Milton right now.
Well, I mean, I just don't think Will Greer's giving you much either. You might as well take a guy who's got 3 games under his belt now.
Yeah.
And he's not doing his best thing, which is run. I'm trying to figure out, is he deciding not to run? Are they telling him not to run to develop other aspects of his game? Because I feel like if he stepped into a real game right now and we needed to win one game, Dak's banged up, he's missing one game in the middle of the season, Joe, run your balls off today.
Yeah, this is where, Dawson, I think that where things would happen if he had to play full-time, the guys that would suffer would be Lamb and Pickens would definitely suffer. You turn this into a college offense. You just go ahead. You just go ahead and turn it into. You become the Ravens. You become the Arizona Cardinals. You become that team. You just try and you play read option football, and that's how you try and do things and make as many simplistic throws as you can for him. You don't even get to really run your offense. You just try and survive and do things that he can do right now if he had to play. His mechanics are not very good. That's a problem. His field vision's not very good right now, and I think that's a lack of experience. He gets a ton of reps. He made a couple of good throws the other day. Like that throw to Cropper has to be caught.
Yeah, that was a nice ball.
That's what you kind of get with potential with Joe Milton. You could get a play like that, or you could get a play down the sidelines to Mingo. That's what you could get. But you could also get some misses too. But I think they would scrap their current offense and just turn it into like a kind of a like I say, a read option college offense.
You have to try win like Malik Willis and the Packers last year. Yeah, he slipped into Jordan Love there.
Yeah.
Maybe the biggest thing across Cowboys Twitter is Adam Schefter this morning with the latest on Micah, just echoing it's different. No reason to believe this is going to get done before the start of the season. I think both jobs are doing a heck of a job. Both sides are doing a heck of a job in negotiation on this, and they're not leaking to anybody that we're going to buckle one iota. So Micah and his agent are doing the job. The Cowboys are doing their job. I just think that it's too valuable to go fifth-year option tag. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm fine, especially if this has become personal. Maybe we wouldn't want to do this to players that we really, really like and check all the boxes. Mm-hmm. But if you want to fight us really hard, then we will play this card, and I don't expect the Cowboys to pick up the phone. I saw some people saying that the Cowboys need to extend an olive branch or let Micah and his agent know, hey, we really want you and we're willing to compromise. I don't think the Cowboys are interested in doing that at all.
No, I don't think they are either. And I think that Micah's probably going to have to play under the current contract and then work from there. If he wants to play football, if he doesn't want to miss games, then I think he's probably going to have to play under this current contract.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are totally comfortable with that. They're not afraid of it at all.
If he is willing to miss the first couple of games, do you think they would then buckle?
No.
If he showed like, I'm very serious about this?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No.
Maybe if they were coming off a good year, right, and they had a great team, and you're looking at Micah saying, without you, we have no chance of being a good defense. We're going for the Super Bowl like Zeke. I guess that was 2018 or 2019. They really felt like we got to have Zeke for all these games because we're dang good and we're going for it. And obviously that wasn't true at the time, but that's the way the team felt about it.
Yeah.
I want to see more of Ezeraku too. That was some good stuff from him, and I want to see what these other pass rushers can do. So I think you're definitely in a developmental year. This is a rebuilding year, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to be worried about making sure any player is in here and being willing to overpay for it.